Hey everyone. In the last video we covered off on creation day one, let there be light. And so the moment where God created light and this separation for the placement of time. And today we're going to look at the moving on to day two with the firmament. So in day one we talked about God's incredible light, his wavelength of light, so which is the color. We see the colors of the rainbow, and in that wavelength our eyes operate, so we can see, and we can see colors of things. And obviously, you know, we can see the brightest or the most intense is the color of the sky, or around that color there, around that bluish color, which is a pretty amazing thing, right? Is that we're seeing that intensity in the sky of the color spectrum of his glory. And we had a look at a few other things as well, just talking about the what light is, and how, you know, there's God's light and then the light of his people as well that he talks about. So as we come into the faith, it's like someone flicked on a lamp, or flicked on a light, and then that light, you know, as the darkness is purged out of the person, that light becomes more and more intense. And then eventually we see, you know, in the instance of Moses, for example, where Moses was in the presence of God, his face started shining and he became like absolutely radiant, and he had to wear a veil and other things that frightened people. Hadn't seen anything like that before. So let's have a look now at day two, creation of the firmament, and we'll go from there. So day two in the morning, and God said, let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters. Now in the ESV it's called an expanse, but in the KJV it's a firmament. Okay, basically it's just it's an area, right? An expanse. It's exactly what it says it is. And it's an expanded kind of arch in the sky. Let it separate the waters from the waters. And so what it does is it separates the waters above, up here, okay, from the waters below on the earth. Okay, it adds a layer of separation. So this firmament, I've made it visible as in like an arch of water, just so that we can understand, or an arch of ice, if you will, but it's like a frozen, or a layer that's impenetrable, that, you know, as we've seen it self-healing. They send rockets up and try and crash into it. They send things up to try and blow a hole in it, but it's impenetrable. They can't get through it. And even if they did get through it, we would see obviously the you know, some effects of things occurring. Let me find a video that comes to mind. Just one moment. Okay, so this obviously comes to mind. This video, I'm sure many of you who've studied the firmament realize that there's programming and shows. Okay, so obviously, hopefully this has sound.
Pitcher, steroid, Santa Claus kicks and deals. It's a long fly ball going back, and the ball shatters the sky, bringing the ocean itself down into the stadium. Oh, Simpson just broke this dream's reality.
The waters above come down and they kind of make light on it, right? So
wide open.
And we see lots of references like this.
Although we weren't able to shatter that highest, hardest glass ceiling this time, thanks to you, it's got about 18 million cracks in it.
All right, so I think you can see that, you know, the people of this world, the kings of the world, and those rulers, if you will, they know what's going on. They know the truth. Okay. So we have this expanse separating the waters from the waters. Now, one thing that hasn't happened yet is there's no earth yet. Okay, we purely just have this blackness. Okay, and then this kind of this, and now it's not an arch. It's actually it's a dome shape. Okay, so it's like it's just in 2D. We're looking kind of front on. So you could imagine that this is like a dome shape that covers it. Okay, so it's like a snow globe kind of covering, if you will, but it's obviously wider, and so we're just using this to illustrate. But there's darkness still there below. Okay, and then what we have is we have kind of some articulations here of what they would see in the in the Hebrew kind of depiction of it, which would be that we have this firmament that's set, okay, kind of on these likened to these pillars, if you will, or the pillars of the earth, and then we have the stars and everything beneath the firmament, which 100% agree with. And then we have this circle of the earth with earth coming up. Now, obviously, earth is not completely flat, as in like the actual earth itself. We have hills, we have mountains, we have, depth to it. It's like if you've ever done 3D and you learn about texturing, or you learn about, depth or depth mapping, you realize that, just about everything, like in order to, everything is like kind of extruded, if you will. So it might be on a circle, on a circular plane, but we see that things are extruded and they're not flat. There are mountains, we can go and visit them. We can go and visualize them. We can go and see them with our eyes. We're not living on a completely and utterly, flat area. We're not living on a biscuit. We're living on an earth that has shape and contours. Okay, so therefore our perception of things is a little bit off. But I agree. We live on a circle of the earth, on the circle of the sea. It says he etched out a circle, okay, out of the darkness. And what we see here is, this is the difference, is that, this enclosed system is enclosed here. Okay, but as we get into the blackness, in the darkness, we see how this actually goes out, okay, and connects up with the waters around. So it's kind of like, even if we went out, we'd encounter water. Even if we went down, we'd encounter water. And then we have Sheol, which is hell, basically. This area that was reserved for the angels. We see that God's used in the what's the river, the Euphrates. Okay, he's used in the Euphrates, actually a place where he's got some angels that are reserved for the, in the tribulation period, that have been held in chains there. So we see that it's not uncommon in Scripture to see the reference of, using areas that are hidden from our view in order to chain up the angels or hide things. We also see the fountains of the deep were actually what filled up this area right up to the sky with the flooding of Noah. All right, so nothing could escape because it's self-contained. Like, it doesn't just keep going up. Okay, you open the windows of the heaven. All right, there's apparently some slots in the firmament, or there's some areas in the firmament where water comes through. Okay, the rain. All right, makes total sense, doesn't it? Okay, and the rain comes through. Okay, and then basically as the rain comes through, as the rain falls, it fills up, and then the waters from beneath are allowed to come through as well and flood the earth. So there's nowhere to go. It's a self-contained system. Even if you got out of here, there's nowhere to go, right? Because it's designed that way. It's designed that way so that, we all go through the same experience while we're here. I think many of us can actually attest to the fact that there are some really odd things about this world. There's some people in this world that don't appear real. There are actions of people that appear to be like non-player characters, if you will. But that's the demonic realm working in people. There's all sorts of other unexplainable things that happen in this place. So there's truly a lot of mystery. But God, when He created this place, right? He created this area, of the earth, and He created that for His people. But naturally, humans rebelled, and sin came, and like sin was, it was the first thing of disobedience that Adam and Eve demonstrated, and and blame shifting and other things that we see there too. So, but what we see is this contained system that we can't get out of. What the enemy wants us to do is to think that there's this amazing, incredible universe that we can travel in if we just have the technology. They do that so they can get their funding. Okay, so we can colonize other planets because humans are so capable. But the truth is that we can't get out. And they do that in order to discount God, to basically have people not believe in a God. And because they think, well, you know, like the universe is so vast, like there's other planets everywhere. Why would we be the only ones? Da 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 da. So they also do it because they can sell us the alien narrative, the UFO narrative, which they've been building for many years for a purpose. Okay, that narrative is going to be used one day. And all that programming of people getting taken away, that's all going to be used as well to their advantage. Okay, all these manipulations of the lies of the truth, they're all going to be used to their advantage. So when we study this to learn the truth of the world that we're in. And the only truth we're going to get is a biblical understanding. Okay, and that's it. Like if we choose to pursue that, then you will be led into the truth, and it'll hurt you. Okay, when you find out that the earth doesn't spin around the sun and all these things, it might hurt you because you might be a Christian. You might have stood up on, in front of church and preached about how the earth goes round and this and that. And then you realize that everything you knew was a lie. Everything that you knew that this little snake agency, not a space agency, had been telling you was a lie. It's all a lie. Okay, there is nowhere to go. The only place to go is up or down. Okay, is heaven or hell. They're the two places. They're your choice of where you want to go. Now, this place that we're in has become somewhat of a trial by fire, in the sense that we are now here and we now must choose. We must make a choice when this life ends. Okay, where are we going to go? And so we're told that our life doesn't mean anything. It's meaningless. It has no meaning. It has no validity. Okay, but the truth is that our life is a giant test, and whether we pass the test or we fail the test is completely up to us. We're given that free will, and that's why, okay, we find ourselves in this place. We find ourselves in this place that we can't get out of, okay, as a test, all right, as a test for the real life beyond this. And the real life beyond this is not, some life where you're going to be, punished if you don't do this, or punished if you don't do that, or, hurt, or, where God's going to abandon you or anything like that. Okay, God loves us, okay, but he tests us, and he wants to make sure that those who really want to be with him will be with him. Those who want to worship him will worship him. Those that are going to worship Satan and the enemy and the things of this world, okay, then they will be allowed to do that, but it will be at their detriment. They will incur the wrath of God upon them, okay, and that time is coming. So as we see, the firmament, it acts as a way of not only protecting us, but keeping us in, okay, and because protecting us from our own selves as well. Okay, there are enough things in this earth that we must contend with. And we also see that the heavens, there's the heavens above, the second and third heaven. Okay, no one gets into heaven unless they're righteous, right? No one gets into heaven unless they believe in the Son. No one gets into heaven without faith. No one gets into heaven unless they're going to worship God. That's it. If you die in your sin without accepting and Jesus is your Lord and Savior, then you go down to Sheol, right? You will be judged and you'll go down to Sheol. All right, you'll go to a place because you rejected the Son, you denied the Son. So therefore, that's the place reserved for you. All right, because it wasn't a place intended for you, but it's a place intended for angels. But it's a place where those unrighteous will go, down into the pit. Okay, how do we know that? There's many scriptures that tell us that. One is, for example, talking about lust, plucking out your eye so that you don't get thrown into the pit. Okay, make a covenant with your eyes, like with Job that we see. And there's many other references in there. But anyone who doesn't teach that there is a hell or a Sheol, okay, which is translated in Hebrew, then you're not teaching correctly, because there is a hell, and the hell is real, and hell is a place reserved for these people. Okay, and we could see billions of people go there, with a B, billions, not millions, billions. Okay, out of 8 billion people on this planet, we could see billions of people go there, into that place of never-ending torment, of complete and utter terror every day. Like, if you've ever burnt yourself, and imagine your whole body burning or being set on fire, but constantly never put out. Okay, and then you will never die. You'll seek death and you will not find it. Okay, you won't find mercy. That's the thing, because he is mercy and he is grace, and he's offering that now. He's outstretching his hand, but you have to choose. What do you want this trial? How do you want this trial to end? And it's pretty simple, right? Okay, so God made the expanse and separated the waters that were under the expanse from the waters that were above the expanse. Okay, so pretty straightforward. It was so. And God called the expanse heaven. So inside here it's called heaven. Okay, this is also called heaven, and up here is called heaven as well. Okay, but this is what we refer to as heaven. And there was evening and there was morning the second day. Okay. Now what we see here is also in another scripture. It says, after I saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding back the 4 winds of the earth, that no wind might blow on earth or sea against any tree. So we actually see it's pretty straightforward here. There's right angles. Okay, we see that the earth is on a circle. There are right angles because it's divided like a compass. Okay, so you still have corners. Okay, you can call them a centered corner. You can make a corner out of here. You can have a corner, here or here. There are still corners in a circle, but it's based upon the division. Okay, the division points of the circle. So while people say, oh, there's no, but there's also pillars and foundations under the earth as well that we see. So, okay, so, in the day, God said, let there be an expanse, and God called the expanse heaven. Sorry, my, some reason this board is deciding to freeze on me right during making of this video, but that's okay. We don't need to type. We just need to look at, there's an error there. So we see God creates a firmament to separate the waters above from the waters below, right? He calls the waters inside the firmament heaven, which will be where he places the sun, moon, and stars like a tent, okay, over the earth. And on the inside of the firmament, that is transparent like crystal. We learn in the Bible there are 3 areas called heaven. And there was morning the third day, now begins at sunrise. Okay, so we see that the third day happens. There was morning and there was evening the third day. Okay, so let's have a look now at some biblical references to the firmament itself, and just talk about it. So we cannot leave the earth. We live within a self-contained bubble surrounded by an impenetrable crystal transparent firmament with an unreachable universe comprised of water. There is truly nowhere else we can go unless God decides to take us like Elijah or Enoch, or if we die in our flesh, we return to the dust. Then we remain here within God's creation. Everything that he has made, he made with intent and proclaimed that it was good upon the completion of his labor of creation. God does not make mistakes, and the enemy in this world want you to believe that we somehow venture out into the cosmos and can settle on distant planets. They do this in an attempt to deny God and to steer people towards a heliocentric model of Earth, as all forms of control on this earth are acquired by such lies and deception. They worship the sun. Okay, they follow a heliocentric model. Okay, so if we have a look at, let me bring that up quickly. Okay, so heliocentrism, okay, is just from Wikipedia, also known as a heliocentric model, is a superseded astronomical model in which the Earth and all planets revolve around the Sun at the center of the universe. Historically, heliocentrism was opposed to geocentrism, which placed the Earth at the center. The notion that the Earth revolves around the Sun had been proposed as early as the 3rd century by Aristarchus of Samos, who had been influenced by a concept presented by Philolaus of Croton, so the Greeks, right? In the 5th century, the Greek philosophers Philolaus and Hicetus had the thought of different occasions that the earth was spherical and revolving around a mystical central fire, and that this fire regulated the universe. In medieval Europe, however, Aristarchus' heliocentrism attracted little attention, possibly because of a loss of scientific works of Hellenistic period. Okay, so we see that. We also see people like, this Heliofant who makes IPEC Goat, for example. Okay, so I think it's these guys, right? Like, for example, you'll see they made that iPet goat, all right? And you have a look in their logo, okay? You can see, all right? They have that sign of that heliocentric model of worship as well. Okay, so it all comes back to Satanism, to paganism, to all these different things. They worship the sun like the Egyptians did. Okay, the truth is that, you know, the people that are not a space agency are the serpent, all right? And they're basically deceiving you into believing a whole lot of nonsense. Okay, so that heliocentric model, it says, to not know the truth means you are never truly free. To deny the truth means you are allowing yourself to be deceived. Okay, Genesis 3:13, and the serpent deceived me and I ate. God has revealed himself to us through his creation. We have no excuse. We can't say, I didn't know, right? Romans 1:18, for the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, who by their unrighteousness suppress the truth. Okay, they hide the truth. For what can be known about God is plain to them, because God has shown it to them. For his invisible attributes, namely his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly perceived ever since the creation of the world in the things that have been made, so are they without excuse. Okay, everybody knows, right? The sky, the sun, the moon, the stars, all the different things, the ocean. Okay, you only have to go and look. Even a little child will see it and see the wonder in the creation. Okay, if you think it's some accident or whatever, then you're basically just choosing to believe a lie. All right, those who know the truth and suppress it intentionally are the people that follow these, you know, these doctrines of devils, right? These you know, demonic things. Okay, for although they knew God, they did not honor him as God or give thanks to him. Okay, these people who deny him still, right? They don't give thanks to him. They don't thank him for his wonderful works, his wonderful creation. Okay, his incredible creation. They became futile in their thinking, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Claiming to be wise, they became fools, and exchanged the glory of God, the immortal God, for images resembling mortal man and birds and animals and creeping things. I've come across many Christians who believe the earth revolves around the sun. I've come across many Christians who still, all right, they still see NASA and they're like, yay, you know, I can't wait till we explore God's universe, you know. And they believe in evolution, right? They believe in God, they say, but then they talk about evolution and dinosaurs, and they talk about all these things, okay, because they are deceived, right? Because they love not the truth. They love not the truth. Anyone with eyes to see can see the truth. Therefore God gave them up in the lusts of their hearts to impurity, to the dishonoring of their bodies among themselves, because they exchanged the truth for God, about God, for a lie, and worshipped and served the creature rather than the Creator, okay, who is blessed forever. Amen. All right, so we worship ourselves, right? Humanity's achievements rather than the Creator, okay? The serpent never speaks the truth, okay? Pretty simple, right? NASA's logo, okay? It's you know, not a space agency, or you add a T. Their favorite saying is T minus 10, 9, 8, 7. They say that because when you add the T back and you rejumble it, it spells Satan. Okay, that's them mocking you for being stupid. They think you're stupid and dumb. You believe the moon landing, right? If you believe the moon landing, all right, that was a TV show. That was a movie. All right, that was a movie. All right, and we see that there are many who were involved in actually orchestrating that we see. All right, so Satan has deceived the world in many ways. The coming of the lawless one by the activity of Satan with all power and false signs and wonders, and with all wicked deception for those who are perishing, because they refuse to love the truth and so be saved. Therefore God sends them a strong delusion, so that they may believe what is false, in order that all may be condemned who did not believe in the truth but had pleasure in unrighteousness. Okay, so, and all nations were deceived by your sorcery. So as we see, which also means pharmakia, but, you know, there's sorcery in this too. We do not live on a globe earth. Okay, Job 26. He has inscribed a circle on the face of the waters at the boundary between light and darkness. The primary land mass of Earth was created as a circle, stretches from north to south and east to west. It touches the boundaries in all four directions, just like we see in the image of a compass. We see many efforts to hide several key facts which have been successful to the masses for many generations. NASA is one example and single source of data that is used by many agencies to perpetuate such lies. Modern day internet celebrities have paid large sums of money to make videos debunking God's description of the earth and his creation. Okay, so if you just go into, let's just go to YouTube. Sorry, let me find a. Okay, so if I just go to YouTube, for example, and I type in flat earth, okay, you're going to see like debunking, woke flat earthers, you're laughing at flat earthers, all right? Proof the earth isn't flat. Why flat earthers scare me. You know, all this nonsense, right? Just on and on. All these paid shills, these people, right? If you can call them people, all right? People who have been deceived, who have paid money in order to not love the truth, in order to spread the truth, spread lies, right, about the truth. They're just acting as Satan's little minions. Okay, that's what they're doing. So it's quite sad, but that's what they're doing. Okay, so what are some other ways that we see? Faked international flight paths. Okay, do your research with the pilots. See what the pilots are saying. Pilots have professed they are silenced on these extensively long flight paths that are predefined to travel internationally around the world. This is to help perpetuate the heliocentric model. Okay, they've even gone as far as to make sure that all the GPS coordinates and all the other things, okay, that they're using perpetuate the lie. All right, so all the maps, everything they teach your kids in school, cartographic and geographic lies. Geography in school is used to teach to us a false heliocentric model, which is actually pagan and satanic in our schools today. Okay, they're teaching our kids this. Children are taught young and never question this. Excuse me for a moment. That's all good. Children are taught young and never question this. Only those that read the Bible start to see the clear discrepancies and are automatically ridiculed in today's society. Okay, if you speak out about this stuff, they just tear you to shreds. You're right. CGI out of space. Stanley Kubrick, a Hollywood director, has come out and clearly admitted he was involved in the staging of the moon landing. It was made as a film to the light of the public and used to sway not only the elections, but to ensure that NASA was funded for many decades to come. After all, if we cannot leave the Earth, what does the space agency actually do anyway? The Bible describes the moon as a light and a luminary. It's not a sphere nor a planet. It cannot be landed on. Pop culture and aliens. The idea was supplanted as early as JFK that a hidden agenda involving aliens, which are actually demonic entities, come from outer space. They have created an entire world of mystery around this. Okay, to have people gazing up at the stars and never seeking to understand the truth that these aliens are actually fallen ones or a part of a great army of darkness. Sounds like a movie now, doesn't it? Aliens will no doubt play a big part in the tribulation period. Okay, to sell a narrative that they are our creator or our gods and are here to help us. Okay, be warned. Be warned indeed. Faked space program. From publicly admitting that they do not have the technology to go to the moon anymore, you know, the Hollywood set, to crash landing rockets into the ocean, which coincidentally is located near a triangle of ocean called the Bermuda Triangle. It is funny how an area has been created that people are so fearful of going to. The space program is entertainment for the masses, a redirection of funds. The rockets they launch are just empty shells with a bunch of fuel in them. The real money goes into programs such as placing a fake sun simulator in the upper atmosphere, creating weapons that can be used from above, weather manipulation. We know as, what do we call it? What is it? I've just gone blank. Anyway, it'll come back to me. So, and programs such as CERN, the collider that worships Sheba, the god of destruction. Okay, so we see a lot of this sort of engineering going on with weather and other things, dropping barium and aluminium, barium salts and other salts in the atmosphere. Okay, barium and aluminium mean bale, which is, you know, evil, wickedness, God, not God, demonic, Satan, Baal, but written about in the Bible. Their God, not our God. Isaiah 40:22, it is he who sits above the circle of the earth, and its inhabitants are like grasshoppers. Okay, so God sits above the circle of the earth. We see on the top, his feet are on the firmament. Okay, his throne's on the top of the firmament. He looks through the clear glass. The crystal-like appearance. We see that when the over the heads of the four living creatures, they look up and they can see the throne through the firmament. So he stretches out the heavens like a curtain and spreads them like a tent to dwell in. Okay, so a tent, the shape of the tent obviously is a curvature with a covering, as we see. Okay, so we're like grasshoppers in a tent. We see that God has stretched the heavens around the firmament like a curtain that simply surround the earth itself. And he does not say that he clothed the earth like a garment that wraps tightly around it. Okay, so he's not like saying we're a circle and he's like spread it rapidly tight around us. He's saying it hangs around like a tent. Okay, and there's a flat base and there's a tent over the top, and underneath it doesn't talk about that. Not here anyway. It talks about the pillars of the earth and Sheol and other things. He does not say, yeah, so I read that. When he established the heavens, I was there. When he drew a circle in the face of the deep, in Proverbs. When he made the firm the skies above, when he established the fountains of the deep. When we see the sky firmament is made firm and is done so intentionally for our own protection and for life inside the bubble, but also too there is nowhere for us to go. Okay, let's have a look at these things here. So we see the serpent, okay, and the symbol, pretty bang on, I think. We also see, funnily enough, like this kind of pattern here of this orbital path, okay, and we see this like rotational path. It's kind of mocking in a way because it's actually what the sun does, so it's just turned sideways is all. We see here, who else is trying to race to perpetuate the lie? All right, this guy here likes dressing up in Satan's costumes with inverted crosses, okay. Once again, he's the other one, right? He's the one people are putting their faith in, right? They put their trust in this man. Okay, you buy one of his cars and you sit in it and you get radiated by EMF. Okay, you're getting microwaved in his electric cars. Okay, do you trust this guy? He's sending up fake rockets and fake CGI videos, all sorts of stuff, right? The rockets don't make it into space. The car was the worst giveaway. There's a scene, if you watch when he launches the car in space, it flicks back to the studio quickly for a second, all right, and you see where the actual green screen keying failed, all right, and they're in a studio. It's all studio shot. It's all fake. There was no car. Okay, it's all lies. All of this is done in a Hollywood basement. All of it. It's all a lie. It's all just an absolute disgusting thing. All right. Okay, what do we see here? Okay, so we see the X. All right, space X. Okay, we see the Egyptian doing this, right? We also see these guys who wear the aprons. All right, it's their movement too, right? It's their movement too. It's their wickedness too. At the right, okay, it's their their signs that they like to do. Okay, the X, right? It's the sign of Osiris. Okay, sign of Osiris. Okay, so space X, Twitter, the bird flying X. All right, in secret societies, X is employed to emphasize the strength, exclusivity, subservience, or duplicity about them expressed, for example, through crossed arms and legs, which can be coded for crossed meanings. Okay, so it also means inversion or deception. Okay, and the left meaning right or things being inverted, black for white, yes for no. Okay, they use the checkerboard. Okay, once again, they invert everything to mock you and to say you're an idiot. You let us do this stuff to you. Okay, his deception. He wears this in his own pride. Okay, he dresses this way not because he's just like trying to be cool, but he believes in this. All right, because everything about his action is, once again, how Satan operates. He uses technology to deceive. Okay, what about these guys? With their 3 6s in their logo and worshipping the god of Shiva, the god of destruction. Okay, these guys playing with the Hadron Collider and trying to mess with the fabric itself, trying to mess with the firmament, trying to mess with other things things that they shouldn't be doing. All right, so, you know, we see here, like, and then, you know, talking about, you know, climate change, you know, controversial spraying methods aimed to curb global warming, right? They were warning all the way back here that they were doing it. They were trying to just get the public's, you know, approval to crop dust them and to hurt them, all right? And to say that they needed to do it because of climate change. So you're getting permission to be sprayed, you know. Basically, it's horrendous. It's absolutely horrendous. In Luke 12:2, nothing is covered up that will not be revealed. Satan's kingdoms. And the devil took him up and showed him all the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time. Again, the devil took him up to a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world in their glory. So we can see that on these very high mountains, you could see the entire earth, right? You could see all the kingdoms of the earth. And so that's also talking about the shape of the earth, and that the earth, you know, from this area where Jesus was taken, he could see everywhere on earth. The earth does not rotate, the sun, moon, and stars do. Okay? Fear before him. All the earth, the world shall also be stable, it shall not be moved. Excuse me, I've just got a spam call. Speaking of Satan. Psalm 93:1, the Lord reigneth, he is clothed with majesty. The Lord is clothed with strength. Wherewith he hath girded himself, the world also established that it cannot be moved. Say among the nations, the Lord reigns. Yes, the world is established, it shall never be moved. He will judge the peoples with equity. He set on the earth on its foundations, so it should never be moved. Okay, there's multiple references, okay, that the earth is stationary, it's locked into place. Right, it appears that inside of the tabernacle that is stretched over the earth moves and rotates, but the earth does not. Okay, so what I'm proposing is that the stars, okay, they're on like a blanket, all right? They're on like, imagine that the stars are like on a garment that's wrapped around the inside of the firmament, okay? And that the inside of the firmament actually moves, right? Like all this layer of the stars move, right? So the stars themselves are actually moving, if you will. And so the stars are like set in the firmament. Okay, they're set. That's what he says. He sets them in there, but they move. And I'll show you images in a minute showing that they do move. And so we see the sun and moon both complete a 360-degree circuit. Okay, their voice goes out throughout all the earth and their words to the end of the world. In them he's set a tent for the sun. Okay, so the tabernacle, so he's made like a tent likened to the tabernacle, what we see, which comes out like a bridegroom leaving his chamber, and like a strong man runs its course with joy. Okay, so from the east he comes out and he goes to the west, and then he goes in the southern hemisphere, and he keeps going around and around and around and around, and he never rests. Its rising is from the end of the heavens, and its circuit to the end of them. There is nothing hidden from its heat, okay, because he doesn't ever stop. Okay, every part of the circle of the earth, okay, feels part of the sun. There's no darkness. There's no point where the sun doesn't reach. Okay, he rises in the east and he completes a full circuit. Okay, in 1 Enoch we see, I saw the winds which turn the heaven and caused the stars to set, the sun as well as the stars. Okay, so the winds actually cause this turning of this layer. And what we see if we fix a camera in position, okay, so he's looking to the west. Notice this here, right? Okay, so if you just fix it in position, right, you see that the sun will go past you, or the sun will, depending on where you live, right, to what the sun does as it sets or it moves past. But what we see is that when we're looking to the west, if you just keep filming, okay, you can see that the stars actually start to move. Okay, and then you see that past some movement if you time lapse it. Okay, those past, I didn't take these, but a stargazer took these, and you see the past some movement actually move, right? And if you look to the east, you see the opposite, which is what we should see. Okay, so depending on where you are on the earth to your perspective, but it moves. Okay, so I'm going to make a 3D model on this to show it better for people. Okay, obviously we see with the sun where it's setting, okay, we see that where the sun is positioned and where the earth is positioned, you know, it matters, okay, it makes a difference. And so the angle as well and how that works is important to make this thing, all of this work. But yeah, the sun moves, the moon moves at 180 degrees to the sun. So when the sun's at 6 a.m. When the sun's at 6 a.m. at sunrise, the moon's at the opposite. So those in the other part of the hemisphere, they see the opposite. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. We see here Genesis 1:20, and God said, "Let the waters swarm with swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the expanse of the heavens." Okay, we see another reference to the firmament. In Job, have you comprehended the expanse of the earth? Declare if you know all this. Ezekiel, over the heads of the living creatures there was the likeness of the expanse. Okay, this tells us with the living creatures that they were beneath, right? That they were beneath, like in the lower part of the heavens. They're saying over their heads was the expanse, the firmament. We know the stars are within the firmament, so the living creatures, all right, that are north, south, and east and west positions also represent an army, also represent likened to the tribes of Israel, also seem to have this representation to the brazen sea and the 12 oxen and other things, which I'm still looking into. So there's all these different things, right, that it falls within. But they, above their heads, shining like awe-inspiring crystals, spread out. Okay, that's the firmament. Here we see the living creatures representing north, south, east, and west, also armies of the 12 tribes of Israel, like their encampment order, okay, and also the order of the gates in that we see in the end of Ezekiel that we're talking about in another video. They're clearly under the firmament as the sun moves through all 12 of them. Okay, the sun actually moves through all of them. There are 3 tribes under each tribal leader. Each leader has a banner and represents God. God the eagle, God the lion, God the ox, God the man, the water bearer, what we see as well, right? Reuben. And when under the expanse, their wings were stretched out straight, one towards another, and each creature had 2 wings covering its body. And there came a voice from above the expanse over their heads. When they stood still, they let down their wings. And the expanse over their heads, there was like the likeness of a throne in appearance like sapphire, and seated above the likeness of a throne was a likeness with human appearance. What I'm proposing is that the wings represent the orbital paths of the planets. They represent the orbital paths of the orbital paths of the sun and the moon, and the and obviously the other paths. So it doesn't talk about the other planets within the firmament itself at this stage. Like, I haven't found much on that. I've got to look into that more about how all that works. But ultimately, at least with the sun, the moon, and the stars, we have these paths, right? And we see that they're for seasons. There's 6 wings for the seasons. There's obviously 4. There's like four wings, but they move in and out through. They move in and out 6 to 12 months of the year. So there's 6 wings because there's 6 positions or 6 months in and 6 out. Okay, which caters for the 4 seasons of the year. When I looked and behold on the expanse that was over the heads of the cherubim, there appeared above them something like a sapphire, in appearance like a throne. Can you, like him, spread out the skies, cast as hard as a cast metal mirror? Okay, so we see the firmament. It's like a mirror, right? And it's like hard as a cast metal mirror. You can't break it. Praise be the Lord. Praise God in his sanctuary. Praise him in the firmament of his power. To the chief musician, a psalm of David, the heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. So we see the firmament's likened to crystal, right? Beautiful clarity of crystal, a shiningness about it. And we also see here, for example, the banners that I was talking about, the man, the eagle, okay, the lion, and the ox, okay? So the ox, Ephraim, and obviously representative of Joseph. The man, we see the tribe of Reuben, the lion, Judah, and Dan, the eagle. Okay, but it also represents, those symbols also represent all those characteristics of God as well, of Jesus, right? So all those traits. He's the lion of the tribe of Judah. He's the eagle of our salvation that wraps us in his pinions. Okay, he's the ox of strength that treads out the grain. Okay, he's also strong, and and then we see the man. He was a man on earth. Okay, he came to save us. He lived as a man on earth, and And so he was the firstborn son as well, okay, of Israel that we see. Reuben was the firstborn. He was mighty, get all the blessing of the firstborn son. He was the heir of God. So we see all these multiple things here. Okay, so moving on to day 3. Okay, and God said, "Let the waters under the heavens be gathered into one place, and let the dry land appear," and it was so. God called the dry land earth, and the waters that were gathered together he called seas, and God saw it was good. Okay, so he made earth and seas. Okay, we haven't got into Sheol down the bottom. We're just focusing on the 2 things. Okay, and forgive my really terrible, it's not a drawing as such, but it's just like a really simple thing. Okay, I'm not an artist. Okay, God saw it was good. And God said, let the earth sprout vegetation, planting, yielding seed, and fruit trees bearing fruit. Okay, so there's food and vegetation according to its kind on the earth, and it was so. Okay, and then he brought forth the vegetation, and God saw it was good, and there was evening and there was morning, a 3rd day. Okay, so we see that God takes all the water under the firmament and sets boundaries that it cannot cross. Excuse me. He calls it the seas. He then creates dry land called earth in the midst of the sea. This self-contained system is now established. Once everything is set in place, he begins to populate the earth with all kinds of vegetation. Okay, so he doesn't tell us much about what's going on under here, but he tells the sea to be where it is and to stay there, and it does. It behaves, right, in order of what he's told it to do. Okay, so what we see now is some references to earth and vegetation, and now not many people want to talk about this stuff. It's pretty inescapable when you start looking at it. Okay, we see references to the giant tree. The visions of my head as I lay in bed with these, I saw and behold a tree in the midst of the earth, and its height was great. The tree grew and became strong, and its top reached to heaven, and it was visible to the end of the whole earth. Okay, the vision in the book of Daniel adds further credence to the circle of the earth in other parts of the Bible. The heliocentric model could not have visibility so far in distance, which we talked about before. We also see some references to hewing down giant trees in both the Bible, referred more to a symbolic hewing, like Pharaoh as a tall cedar, and also in the book of Enoch. Funnily enough, we see this petrification. Okay, we see these same patterns. See these same patterns here in these objects. We see references to the angels hewing down the trees. Okay, we also see these huge masses, all right, that it's very difficult to escape appearing like a tree stump, like petrified, okay, so from the time of the flood. Even have this interesting one, looks like a giant axe, okay, very hard to escape as well. And, there's some interesting things going on here. These things are phenomenally big, okay, and they're very difficult to ignore. Okay, so what we see here is landscape, mountains, and formations were all trees from creation. Our entire history, as we're taught in school, is a complete fabrication. This keeps people in the dark about the truth, unwilling to open their eyes and question their surroundings. While groups such as the Smithsonian Institute, that are run by certain groups that like to wear aprons and make things out of stone, who push a heliocentric model of our planet but believe the opposite. Okay, there are gatekeepers for this stuff. All right, there are gatekeepers. We see also too, people talking about the cutting down of trees lowers the vibrational frequency that we feel on Earth, and other things, right? Is that, we are with nature, right? God created us to be harmonious with nature and balance, and when you start taking nature away, it upsets some sort of balance here as well. So there are spiritual connotations or things with that. Okay, let's have a look at the man who invented the dinosaur. Okay, this guy here. Now, if you actually do your digging, you realize that there is not one fossil, not one complete fossil. There never was, right? There never was. The fossils, they've actually proven, right? They took sections from other animals and they combined and made these things. They made these creations. Artists were involved. They've actually tested many of these bones, and they've been found to be used and reshaped in chicken bones and other bones from other animals. All right, it's pretty insane. right? They've lied about this, okay? American tycoons created the dinosaur for money, right? Great invention. The dinosaur is a chimera. Some parts of this complex assemblage are the results of biological evolution, they say here, but others are products of human ingenuity. Okay, so this article, like it's not informed correctly, but they do get this part right, that they were constructed by artists, scientists, and technicians in a laborious process that stretches from the dig site to the naturalist study of the museum's preparation lab. The amount of skeletons that have become such a staple of natural history closely resemble mixed media sculptures have been cobbled together from a large number of disparate elements that include plaster, steel, and paint, in addition to fossilized bone. When standing before one of these towering creatures, such as the T-Rex skeleton, named in Chicago's blah 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 field history, it is surprisingly difficult to distinguish which features are ancient and which are modern when prehistory ends and imagination begins, because it's all fabrication. Okay, so this person here, all right, he's one of those people who like to wear aprons if you start digging. All right, this guy, right, he's one of those people as well. All right, another one in that group. Okay, we see just the fact checkers claims that the Smithsonian destroyed thousands of giant skeletons are many years old and satirical. All right, whenever you see a fact check or one of these, okay, you can believe the opposite. Okay, these guys here, they got their little 666 hidden in their logo as well. Okay, they're wicked. All right, so we see the Smithsonian Institute. He was worshipped by, or Smithson, who started it. Okay, a Freemason and scientist, right? Traveled to oversee his exhumation. Who, you know, he served as a regent. Blah 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 blah. Okay, and then they come forward and they claim that he wasn't one. But yet they made this statue to him, okay, and all these other things, and they basically, you know, it's complete lies. He was a silent one, okay. They make a point down here of saying, you know, he was not one. But then it talks about how he is one. All right, so anyway, they have their own agenda, they have their own plan. You know, they worship their own things. So, and it's all wickedness. It all comes down to. So, we see here he's set a tent or a tabernacle for the sun in the heavens. Okay, we see a tabernacle for the sun. To the choir master, son of David, the heavens declare the glory of God, and the skywork proclaims his handiwork. Day to day pours out speech, and night reveals knowledge. There is no speech, nor are there words whose voice is not heard. We have a common language when we look up, don't we? Their voice goes out throughout all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them, he has sent a tent for the sun. The firmament proclaims the handiwork of God both day and night. The heavens declare the glory of God in a language that all can understand. There is no need for translation. We marvel at his creation, and it fills us with awe and wonder as we look at the sky. The entire world can see the same sky from the firmament, just from a different perspective. Can see the entire world, can see the same sky from a different perspective, depending on whether they're in the north or south hemisphere, just like north or south Israel, for example. Okay, these are just some examples of old tent designs, you know, and we see that the material stretched out over it. We also see here, like, there's some interesting things you can make out of the tabernacle. Okay, we see the ancient tents of Israel. Through the Bible, there is a depth of meaning that expand across multiple areas. Here's one example. We could spend a lifetime trying to understand even just one subject area. When we consider the tabernacle, that it has 4 external coverings, and the 4th covering being a combination of all things represents Jesus, it certainly makes a lot of sense about how God created the earth. Okay, we see the purple, his majesty; blue, keeping his commandments; gold, his holiness; white, his righteousness; red, the sacrifice, his blood. Okay, we see blue as the sky, gold as the sun, white as the moon. Okay, we see these elements in nature that he's created. We could also see some other biblical terms like the rock badger skin here. People argue over this rock badger. They say that it's really like some sort of seal or I forget what it is. Right? There's this great debate about this, and then when you actually start digging, you see it refers to the rock badger. which was readily sourced in that time, and it was made of leather that would protect the outer layer of the tabernacle. So I think these arguments from these biblical scholars are, to be honest, are nonsense. I believe that the translation is correct, and it is badger skins, as it says it is. And, you know, it's basically, yeah. But we see here, like, we see some references you could, you know, interpret, like creation, wilderness, earth and clay, life, sacrifice and blood, darkness, death and the heavens, these layers. And then the layers, you know, obviously in God's tabernacle, glory, holiness, light, heaven, righteousness. That's one way to look at it. There's also a few other ways to look at it. You could look at it in the term of Joseph. Now, Israel loved Joseph more than any other of his sons because he was a son of his old age, and he made him a robe of many colors. Okay, then they took Joseph's robe and slaughtered a goat and dipped the robe in blood. So the coat of many colors likened to the stitched layer of the fine linen of the tabernacle, a coat of many colors, you know, the fine linen that was made for Joseph. Now, there is a term called badger baiting, okay, which is quite interesting. Badger baiting actually means, I don't know if I put it down here, but it's like a term to, you know, sell someone out for money, or to bait somebody for money, or to deceive somebody. And there's some other terms as well, but around other things around it as well. But basically, that's exactly what happened to Joseph. He was sold into slavery by money, right? And so there's an interesting sort of reference there with the badger as well. But they took him and they slaughtered a goat, right? The goat's hair here, and they dipped the robe in the blood, right? It's quite interesting. Now, when I passed by, which kind of covers all these layers, right, in the story of Joseph. Now, when I passed by, I looked upon thee. Behold, the time was the time of love, and I spread my skirt over thee and covered thy nakedness. Yea, I swear unto thee and entered into a covenant with thee, saith the Lord God. Yea, I became mine, like that skirt, you know, over him, like the temple, covered thy nakedness. Then I washed thee with water. I thoroughly washed away thy blood from thee, and I anointed thee with oil. Okay, it's quite interesting too. I clothed thee with embroidered work and shod thee with badger's skin. Interesting. And I girded thee about with fine linen, and I covered thee with silk. They all represent the temple. Okay, washing the blood away, the water. Okay, spreading the skirt over of the heavens, of the firmament. I decked thee with ornaments. I put bracelets upon thy hands and chain on thy neck, and I put jewel on your forehead and earrings in thine ears and a beautiful crown upon thy head. Okay, thou wast decked with gold and silver. Okay, so gold as in gold of the sun, and silver as in the moon. And thy raiment was of fine linen and silk and embroidered work. Thou didst eat fine flour and honey and oil, okay, the products of the earth. And thou wast exceedingly beautiful, and thou didst prosper into a kingdom. And thy renown went forth among the heathen for thy beauty, for it was perfect through my comeliness which I had put upon thee, saith the Lord God. Okay, so we can see there's definitely some interesting references too. Okay, the inner court, those who worship in spirit and truth. So it shall come to pass, when they enter in at the gates of the inner court, they shall be clothed with linen, and no wolf shall come upon them, whilst they minister in the gates of the inner court and within. And we see, and he brought me to the inner court of the Lord's house, and behold, at the door of the temple of the Lord, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men, and their backs towards the temple of the Lord, and their faces towards the east, and they worshipped the sun towards the east. The inner courts represent the gate and courtyard outside of the holy place of the temple, followers of Christ who worship God and bring a sacrifice to the altar. Okay, and then we see also the outer court, you know, kind of represents, like, you know, up here, outer court represents the people of the earth, and they have not yet come into the faith. They have no garment spread across them. They are not priests of God's temple and will be under judgment during the 42 months. Okay, so we see this representation of this spreading this, you know, garment over you, right? But this garment being like in God's temple. Now, if we're the temple, it's quite deep, isn't it? It's quite deep. So very interesting, guys, about the firmament and the creation and the layers of the firmament and the layers of what we've created, what God's created. Okay, it's kind of like the heavens, the layer of the stars, and then the layers of, you know, of the earth, for example. So there's so much in this, but that's just a little intro into a few things to consider. Okay, we know that, you know, we live in a place that is, you know, the whole story is fabricated as far as, you know, space and you know, our idea of where we live, and they've managed to successfully keep that from people for a long time. I think the average person now knows that something's not quite right, but I think that the most people, you know, when they buy into the lie, they buy into the fantasy of aliens, they buy into the fantasy of going to Mars, they buy into all those movies that they've watched over the years, and, you know, that programming has helped to bring them to that place. So we need to unprogram people, unprogram them, and tell them to read the Bible and study it, and look for the things that jump out. But there are just far too many things that we've even spoken about in this short video that you can't deny. And, you know, one day all will be revealed, of course. But for the moment, you know, we must seek it out. We must study. And so this concludes day 3 of the of creation. Obviously, I've still haven't kind of got beyond that yet. I've got another 4 days to go for study, so I'll continue to push these videos out when I'm ready and when I've got them there. However, I'm working on some other things at the moment too, simultaneously. So yeah, just ask to be patient, and I thank you for supporting these as well. I see, you know, I've had some really good support on the channel. Also too, the channel is very, very regulated. The numbers on videos, I've seen, like, you know, views disappear. I've seen likes disappear. I've seen like entire videos say they have no views, and yet then I've seen like tons of people in there. So don't worry about, like, you know, don't worry about like what you see. People are watching. People are, you know, actively engaging in the channel, but it's a broken channel. So it has been for some time, and it will continue to be. It's like a bucket of bolts that keeps going. But, you know, welcome to all the new subscribers that have been joining lately. It's been really good as well. So God bless, and Maranatha, and I'll see you in the next video.